The grand ballroom of the Starlight Hotel was a spectacle of opulence, where chandeliers sparkled like 1,000 stars, and the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfumes and gourmet delicacies. Rodrigo, a charismatic millionaire in his 40s, stood at the center of the room, effortlessly drawing the attention of guests with his magnetic smile and confident demeanor. Clad in a tailored black tuxedo that accentuated his strong physique, he was the epitome of success, a man who had built his empire from the ground up. "Rodrigo, over here!" a voice called out, interrupting his thoughts. It was Charles, a fellow businessman and one of his closest friends. Rodrigo turned, his eyes lighting up as he approached the group gathered around Charles. They exchanged hearty greetings, laughter ringing through the air. "Congratulations on the new acquisition, my friend," Charles said, clapping Rodrigo on the back. "You've really outdone yourself this time." "Thank you, Charles. It was a team effort, but I'll take the credit," Rodrigo replied, a playful grin on his face. His eyes flickered to Anna, his stunning wife, who was mingling with several socialites, her presence adding a touch of elegance to the evening. With her long, flowing red gown and cascading dark hair, she captured the attention of everyone around her. "Your wife is a knockout," Charles whispered, glancing over at Anna. "You're a lucky man." Rodrigo's chest swelled with pride. "I know. I don't take that for granted, trust me." He watched Anna as she engaged in conversation, her laughter melodic and contagious. In that moment, he felt invincible, surrounded by success and love. "Let's get a drink," Charles suggested, leading the way to the bar. As they made their way through the crowd, Rodrigo's thoughts drifted. He was grateful for everything he had achieved, but there was always a nagging feeling at the back of his mind, a whisper of discontent that he couldn't quite place. After raising their glasses in a toast, Rodrigo excused himself to find Anna. He approached her, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "You look stunning tonight," he murmured into her ear. Anna turned, her eyes sparkling. "And you look dapper as ever, darling. This night is all about you. But I'm just glad to be by your side." "Are you having a good time?" he asked, hoping to see excitement in her expression. "Of course, but—" Anna hesitated, biting her lip. "I just wish we could do something a little more adventurous. This life, it's so predictable." Rodrigo furrowed his brow, taken aback by her words. "Predictable? Anna, we're at a gala with some of the most influential people in the country. What more excitement do you want?" "I don't know, Rodrigo," she sighed, her gaze drifting over the crowd. "Sometimes I feel like we're just going through the motions. I want to feel alive, to experience something thrilling." "Thrilling? Like what?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. "Maybe just a spontaneous trip or something that shakes up our routine. I don't want to wake up one day and realize we've wasted our lives chasing after the next big deal," she replied, her voice tinged with a hint of frustration. Rodrigo shook his head, trying to understand. "But we've worked hard to create this life. Isn't it enough?" Anna's expression softened, but there was an underlying tension in her eyes. "I guess I just want more than the fancy parties and business meetings. I want to feel the rush of life." "Life is about balance, Anna," he reassured her. "I promise we can find time for adventure. Just not tonight. Tonight is about celebration." He leaned in to kiss her forehead, trying to dispel the unease that hung between them. Okay, you're right," she smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. As the night wore on, Rodrigo tried to push aside the feeling that something was amiss. He was used to navigating the complexities of business deals, but the intricacies of his marriage left him feeling unmoored. The gala continued, with laughter and music filling the air, but his mind was elsewhere, contemplating Anna's words. Eventually, the couple made their way to the parking lot, hand in hand. Rodrigo could feel the cool night air against his skin, a refreshing contrast to the warmth of the ballroom. "I'll drive," he said, taking the keys from his pocket and unlocking their sleek black car. Anna slid into the passenger seat, her demeanor shifting as she stared out the window, lost in thought. "Hey," Rodrigo said softly, glancing over at her. "Are you sure you're all right? You seem distant." "I'm just tired," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, starting the engine and navigating out of the parking lot. As they drove through the illuminated streets of the city, Rodrigo couldn't shake the feeling that their conversation had left a shadow over the night. He'd always prided himself on being a good husband, and yet he felt like he was missing something crucial. "Do you remember our first trip to Paris?" he asked, trying to lighten the mood. Anna turned to him, her eyes brightening momentarily. "Of course, the food, the art, and that little cafe where we spent hours just talking." "Exactly," Rodrigo said, a smile creeping onto his face. "We should do that again, just the two of us, without any distractions." "Yeah, that would be nice," Anna replied, her voice lacking enthusiasm. Rodrigo sighed, shifting his focus back to the road. The streetlights cast fleeting shadows across his face as he drove, but his mind wandered back to their earlier conversation. He wanted to give Anna the adventure she craved, but he couldn't help feeling that her dissatisfaction ran deeper than just a lack of excitement. Suddenly, a thought jolted through him. What if we went skydiving? Or maybe a weekend getaway to the mountains? Anna chuckled lightly. "Skydiving? You're kidding, right?" "Why not?" "It would be an adventure," he insisted, his excitement bubbling over. "Okay, Mr. Thrill Seeker," she teased, rolling her eyes playfully. "But promise me something?" "Anything," he said, glancing at her with curiosity. "Promise me that you won't work on your phone the whole time. I want to spend real time together, no distractions." Rodrigo's heart sank a little. He knew he had been consumed by work lately, but he was just trying to build a future for them both. "I promise," he said, determination lacing his voice. As they continued to drive, Rodrigo felt a sense of hope. Maybe they could find a way to reconnect, to reignite the spark that had drawn them together in the first place. However, as they approached a busy intersection, his thoughts were suddenly interrupted by a sharp turn in the road. Anna's voice cut through the silence. "Rodrigo, watch out!" He turned to her just in time to see a car barreling toward them, an oncoming vehicle that had run a red light. Panic surged through him as he instinctively swerved the car, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Hold on," he shouted, gripping the wheel tightly, but it was too late. The sound of metal colliding echoed through the night, a deafening crash that shattered the illusion of their perfect life in an instant. As the world faded into darkness, Rodrigo's last thought was of Anna, her face a mixture of fear and concern. And then there was nothing. Rodrigo blinked against the harsh brightness of the hospital room, his mind a jumbled mess as he tried to piece together the fragments of his recent past. The sterile smell of antiseptic flooded his senses, and the rhythmic beeping of machines punctuated the silence. Pain radiated through his body, a vivid reminder of the accident that had turned his life upside down. As he turned his head slightly, he caught sight of Anna sitting beside him, her hand resting on his arm, fingers lightly intertwined with his. "Anna?" His voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. "I'm here, sweetheart," she replied, her tone dripping with feigned tenderness. But as he focused on her, he noticed the slight twitch in her eye, the way her smile didn't quite reach her lips. What happened?" Rodrigo struggled to keep his thoughts straight, confusion swirling in his mind like a storm. "You were in an accident," she said, her voice soft and soothing. "You've been in a coma for a few days. The doctors say you're going to be okay, but you need to rest." Rodrigo's heart sank as he recalled the moments leading up to the crash, the gala, Anna's unsettling words about wanting more excitement, and the way her laughter had felt hollow. He wanted to believe that everything would return to normal, that their life of luxury and love was still intact. But something in the way she looked at him, with a glimmer of something unreadable in her eyes, made him uneasy. "Is the business—" he began, but she quickly cut him off. "Don't worry about that right now. Focus on healing. That's what matters," Anna insisted, her voice firm, yet laced with an undercurrent of urgency. Rodrigo nodded slowly, but the worry gnawed at him. His company had been his pride and joy, and the thought of it floundering without his leadership sent a ripple of panic through him. He wanted to ask more, to dig deeper, but the pain in his body made it hard to concentrate. Days passed, each one blending into the next, as Rodrigo fought through the haze of medication and physical therapy. The nurses were kind, their faces familiar yet distant, as if they were part of a dream he couldn't quite grasp. But Anna remained a constant presence, always there with her perfect smile and soothing words, even when he noticed her slipping away for long stretches of time. One afternoon, as he struggled to lift his arm during therapy, he overheard two nurses discussing his situation. "Have you seen Anna lately?" one asked, her tone conspiratorial. "I heard she's been meeting with someone from that rival firm, you know, the one trying to buy out his business." Rodrigo's heart raced. Was Anna really meeting with a rival? He tried to shake off the thought, focusing instead on the physical therapist's instructions, but the seed of doubt had been planted. The way Anna had insisted he rest, her dismissive tone whenever he mentioned his business, it all started to feel like a carefully constructed facade. "Rodrigo, you're doing great," his therapist encouraged, but all Rodrigo could think about was Anna's shifting loyalty. Later that evening, as he lay in bed unable to sleep, he wrestled with his thoughts. He needed to confront Anna about what he'd heard, but a part of him hesitated. What if he was wrong? What if she really was just trying to help him heal? A knock on the door pulled him from his reverie, and Anna entered, her expression brightening at the sight of him. "Hey, how are you feeling?" she asked, her voice a melody he once cherished, now tinged with apprehension. "I'm okay," he replied cautiously. "But I overheard something today. Something about you meeting with people from my company's competitors." Anna's smile faltered for a moment before she regained her composure. "Rodrigo, you're not well. You shouldn't be worrying about work. I'm just trying to help you focus on your recovery." "But are you really helping?" he pressed, feeling the weight of his suspicions pressing down on him. "I need to know what's going on with the business. It's my life's work." Anna stepped closer, placing her hand on his shoulder. "I promise everything is fine. Your employees are handling things while you recover. Trust me, please. I love you, and I don't want anything to distract you from getting better." Rodrigo wanted to believe her, but the unease lingered like a shadow, refusing to be dismissed. Days turned into weeks, and as he continued his rehabilitation, he felt the walls of his world closing in. One day, during a particularly grueling session, he overheard the same nurses discussing Anna again. "She hasn't been here much lately," one remarked, her voice low. "I wonder what's keeping her away." Rodrigo froze, the implications of their words crashing down on him like a wave. What if Anna was not just missing for the sake of his recovery, but for something far more sinister? The thought sent a chill down his spine. After the session, he couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. He needed answers. The next time Anna visited, he decided to confront her again. "Anna, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "Of course. What is it?" she asked, feigning a casual demeanor that felt increasingly transparent. "I overheard some things at the hospital. People are saying you haven't been around much. What's going on?" His gaze bore into her, searching for the truth behind her carefully crafted mask. Anna's expression shifted, and for a brief moment, he saw a flicker of annoyance. "I've been busy, Rodrigo, you know how it is. I'm trying to keep everything together so you can focus on healing." "Busy how? What exactly are you doing?" he pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. "I need you here with me. I can't do this alone, Anna." She hesitated, and for a moment, he thought he saw something like fear in her eyes. "I'm doing what's best for us, Rodrigo. I don't want you to worry about anything." "Worry? Anna, I'm already worrying. Just be honest with me for once," he implored, his heart racing as he sensed her evasion. "Rodrigo, please," she said, her voice rising. "You're not thinking clearly. You need to trust me." "Trust? How can I trust you when you won't tell me what's really happening?" The words tumbled out, fueled by a mixture of anger and pain. Anna's facade cracked slightly, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "I'm trying to protect you. You're not in a position to make decisions right now." Rodrigo felt the weight of her words, but couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The tension hung thick in the air, and he could sense their once solid foundation beginning to crumble beneath the strain of uncertainty and unspoken truths. As he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, Rodrigo couldn't help but feel the walls closing in around him. The pain of his physical injuries paled in comparison to the emotional turmoil brewing within. His life, once bursting with promise, now felt like a series of unraveling threads, each one leading him closer to a truth he was terrified to face. Rodrigo lay in his hospital bed, the beeping of the machines around him a constant reminder of his fragile state. Each day was a battle, not just with the pain that coursed through his body, but also with the creeping doubt that gnawed at his mind. He could feel the weight of Anna's presence, yet something felt off, like a shadow lurking just beyond the light. Determined to reclaim his life, Rodrigo began to push himself harder during his rehabilitation sessions. His physical therapist, a stern but encouraging woman named Clara, often had to rein him in. "Rodrigo, you need to pace yourself," she insisted one afternoon, as he struggled to lift himself onto the parallel bars. "No," he replied, gritting his teeth. "I can do this. I need to do this." Clara raised an eyebrow, her concern evident. "Sure, but not at the cost of your health. You're still healing. If you overdo it, you could set yourself back." Rodrigo nodded, but inside, he felt a fire igniting. He needed to get back to his business, to his life, and the idea of being sidelined while Anna remained by his side, her smile hiding who knew what, made his resolve harden. As the days turned into weeks, he started to spend his late nights in the hospital room on his laptop, digging through emails and company reports. His assistant had been sending updates, but the more he read, the more he could feel the threads of his life unraveling. The business he had built from the ground up was faltering. Decisions were being made without his input, and the thought of Anna stepping in to fill the void only fueled his paranoia. One evening, while scrolling through his phone, he found himself staring at a photo of Anna from their last vacation. Her laughter echoed in his mind, but so did the nagging doubts. He pushed the image away, realizing he had to dig deeper. As he searched for information, he stumbled upon texts on Anna's phone, which she had left unattended on the bedside table. Curiosity gnawed at him, and before he could talk himself out of it, he picked up the phone. His heart raced as he scrolled through her messages. There were friendly exchanges, but then he found a thread that stopped him cold. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you," one message read. "Just let me know when you're free. I'll make it worth your while," another replied. Rodrigo's breath caught in his throat. Who was she meeting? The texts were vague, but the implication was clear. The dark cloud of suspicion that had been hovering over him turned into a suffocating fog. He set the phone down, his hands trembling. When Anna arrived later that night, her cheerful demeanor felt like a slap in the face. "Hey, love, how was your day?" she chirped, leaning down to kiss him lightly on the forehead. Rodrigo's heart was racing, but he forced a smile. "It was productive." "Oh? Did you have a good session?" "Something like that." He paused, weighing his words carefully. "I've been thinking about our situation." Anna's smile faltered ever so slightly, just enough for Rodrigo to notice. "What do you mean?" "I mean about us, about everything that's happening." She straightened, her expression shifting to one of concern. "Rodrigo, you need to focus on your recovery. The business can wait." "Can it?" he countered, his voice low. "I can't help but feel like there's more going on than you're telling me. I found something on your phone." Anna's eyes widened, and for a split second Rodrigo saw a flicker of panic. "What do you mean?" "Messages, texts. You've been meeting someone, haven't you?" Anna took a step back, her facade crumbling. "Rodrigo, you're not thinking clearly. You've been through a lot. Maybe you're misinterpreting things." "Misinterpreting?" he echoed, disbelief twisting in his gut. "How can you say that? I've seen the messages. It's right there in black and white." Her expression hardened. "You don't understand. I've needed space. Everything is so overwhelming right now. I'm scared and I don't know how to handle it all." "Scared of what?" he pressed, feeling frustration bubbling to the surface. "You've been scared of me?" "No, it's not that," she snapped, her voice rising. "It's just this accident. Everything is changing and I don't know how to deal with it. I thought maybe some time apart would help." "Time apart?" he repeated, his heart sinking. "Is that what you call it, meeting someone else?" "Rodrigo, please, you're not being fair," she exclaimed, her voice cracking. "I'm trying to hold everything together. Do you think this is easy for me?" "That's not an excuse," he shot back, the pain of betrayal stinging like a fresh wound. "You should have come to me, told me the truth." Anna looked away, her expression softening, but the damage had been done. "It's not that simple," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't want to burden you even more." Rodrigo felt a rush of anger and confusion. "Burden me? I'm your husband. I should be the one you turn to, not someone else." "I needed someone to talk to, someone who understood what I was going through," she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You were in a coma and I felt so alone." "Alone?" he echoed, his heart breaking at the realization of her isolation. "You chose to talk to someone else instead of me." Anna took a step closer, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear it was just a few conversations, nothing more. I just needed to escape for a moment." Rodrigo shook his head in disbelief. "Escape? From what? From me? From us?" "I don't know," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I just felt lost, and I didn't know how to find my way back. I thought if I could just take a breather, it would all make sense again." He turned away, feeling an ache deep within him. "You should have trusted me," he said softly. "We're supposed to be a team." "I know," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." The silence that followed felt heavy, filled with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Rodrigo felt a mix of anger and sorrow, a confusing cocktail of emotions that left him feeling dizzy. "Do you love me?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna looked at him, her eyes wide with desperation. "Of course I do, I don't know how to show it right now." "Then show me," he replied, his heart pounding in his chest. "Show me that you mean it, because right now, all I see are lies and secrets." And as he searched her face for answers, he felt the fragile threads of their relationship hanging by a thread, teetering on the edge of an uncertain future. Rodrigo lay in his hospital bed, the gentle hum of machines surrounding him as his eyes flickered open. The sterile smell of antiseptic was a constant reminder of his recent trauma. As he blinked against the harsh hospital lights, he caught sight of Anna, who sat at his bedside, her expression a carefully crafted mask of concern. Yet, in the depths of her gaze, Rodrigo could feel an unsettling tension brewing. It was as if a storm was gathering just beneath the surface of her calm demeanor. Days turned into weeks as Rodrigo slowly emerged from his stupor, each day bringing with it a mix of rehabilitation exercises and emotional turmoil. The initial joy of waking up from a coma had dissipated, replaced by a gnawing uncertainty. He couldn't shake the feeling that Anna was hiding something important from him. During therapy, he overheard snippets of conversations that only deepened his suspicions. Nurses whispered about Anna's frequent absences, their words laced with concern and curiosity. One afternoon, as he labored through his physical therapy, the strain of his situation weighed heavily on him. He managed to lift himself on the parallel bars, sweat beading on his forehead. His therapist, a kind woman named Grace, encouraged him. "Just a little more, Rodrigo." "You're doing great," she said, her voice brightening the otherwise dull room. Rodrigo nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. The clinking of weights and the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment faded into the background as thoughts of Anna consumed him. What was she doing when she wasn't by his side? Was she really where she claimed to be? He needed answers. Later that evening, after struggling through another exhausting day, he lay in bed, the moonlight filtering through the blinds. Anna was there, but her eyes seemed distant, her thoughts wandering. "Anna," he ventured, his voice hoarse. "Can we talk?" She turned to him, her expression shifting momentarily before settling back into that facade of concern. "Of course, love. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking," he began, hesitating as he searched for the right words. "I've been hearing things about you, the nurses. They say you're not around much. Rodrigo, you know how hard this is for me, too. I'm trying to manage everything at home. Your business. Her voice trailed off, her lips pressing into a thin line of worry. Then help me understand, he pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. What is really happening with my business? I need to know if I can trust you. Of course you can trust me, Anna exclaimed, her voice a pitch higher than usual. I'm doing everything I can to keep things afloat while you recover. You need to focus on getting better. Rodrigo felt a knot tighten in his stomach. But are you? Or are you just trying to control things while I'm out of the picture? The words came out sharper than he intended, but the truth was, he felt like a ghost in his own life. Why would I do that? Anna's eyes flashed with indignation, but Rodrigo could see the cracks in her facade. You're my husband, I love you. Do you? He shot back, his voice trembling with emotion. Or do you love what I have? Anna recoiled as if he had struck her, the hurt flickering across her features quickly replaced by anger. You're being paranoid, Rodrigo. You need to trust me. I'm here for you. Rodrigo turned away, the weight of her words pressing down on him like an anchor. He wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at his insides. The longer he lay there, the more he felt like a prisoner of his own life, chained to uncertainties that threatened to suffocate him. As days passed, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He had a friend who was a lawyer, someone he could trust. One afternoon, he summoned the courage to ask for help. Can you come see me? He texted his lawyer, Marcus, his fingers trembling. Marcus arrived the next day, a tall man with a no-nonsense attitude and sharp blue eyes. Rodrigo, it's good to see you up and about, he said, his tone warm, but his eyes scanning the room with an analytical gaze. How can I help? I need to know what's happening with my finances, Rodrigo said, his heart racing. I have a feeling Anna is doing something I can't quite put my finger on. Marcus nodded, his expression turning serious. Let's go over some things. I'll need to look into your accounts, see if there's anything unusual. Rodrigo watched as Marcus pulled out his laptop, the screen illuminating the room with a cold glow. As he scrolled through documents and statements, Rodrigo felt a growing sense of dread. He could feel the walls closing in on him, the reality of his situation becoming more pronounced. After what felt like an eternity, Marcus looked up, his brow furrowed. Rodrigo, I've found some discrepancies in your accounts. It seems that there have been significant withdrawals and transfers over the past few months, amounts that don't correlate with any business expenses. Rodrigo's heart raced. What do you mean? Your wife has been siphoning funds into an account linked to a startup company. I don't have the full details yet, but this is serious. Why would she do that? Rodrigo's voice was barely above a whisper, the betrayal slicing through him like glass. Marcus leaned back, his expression serious. That's what we need to find out. This isn't just about money. It could be about control, or something more. Rodrigo felt his world tilting. He had trusted Anna with every facet of his life, and yet here was the evidence that she had been hiding something significant from him. His mind raced with questions, each one more painful than the last. How could she betray him like this? What had he missed while he was fighting for his life? Get me a private investigator, Rodrigo said, determination creeping into his voice. I need to know everything. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked, concern etched on his face. I need to understand the truth no matter how much it hurts, Rodrigo replied, his voice steely. I can't go on like this living in the dark. As Marcus nodded and began making arrangements, Rodrigo felt a flicker of resolve ignite within him. He was no longer the passive participant in his own life. He would uncover the secrets Anna had hidden, and he would fight to reclaim what was rightfully his life, his business, and his dignity. That evening, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the weight of his decision settled heavily upon him. He knew that the truth would hurt, but it would also set him free. Anna had woven a web of lies around him, and he was determined to unravel it, thread by thread. The following days passed in a blur of anticipation and anxiety. Rodrigo's heart raced each time he received a message or a call, wondering if it was news about Anna or further revelations about her betrayal. He couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in his own life, the man he once was slipping further and further away. Then, one afternoon, the investigator called. "Rodrigo, I have some information for you. We need to meet in person." The urgency in the investigator's voice sent a chill down Rodrigo's spine. He agreed to meet at a nearby cafe, his stomach twisting into knots. As he arrived, the investigator was already waiting, a man in his 40s with a rugged appearance and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Rodrigo," he said, extending his hand, "I've gathered some information on your wife." Rodrigo felt his heart pounding in his chest, each beat echoing with dread. "What did you find?" The investigator took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "Your suspicions were correct. Anna has been meeting with someone, a business rival of yours, and they've been discussing plans that could jeopardize your company." Rodrigo's breath caught in his throat. "What kind of plans?" "They're looking to take advantage of your situation, trying to undermine you while you're incapacitated," the investigator explained. "There are financial records indicating that she's been diverting funds to support this rival startup, all while portraying herself as the dutiful wife." Rodrigo felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical injury he had endured. "Why?" he managed to ask, his voice strained. "I don't know yet," the investigator replied, his expression sympathetic. "But it's clear that she's been playing both sides. Until I can dig deeper, I can't give you all the answers." Rodrigo nodded, his mind racing. He felt like a marionette whose strings had been cut, left to flounder in a world that had once seemed so secure. He had trusted Anna with every fiber of his being, and now he was left with the haunting realization that the woman he loved had become a stranger. As they parted, Rodrigo's heart was heavy with the knowledge that his life was slipping away from him. He had fought hard to survive, but now he was faced with the daunting task of confronting the woman who had once been his partner in all things. The battle ahead would require every ounce of strength he had left, and he was determined to reclaim his life, even if it meant tearing down the very foundation he had built with Anna. In the following days, his resolve only grew stronger. He would not be a victim to her deception any longer. The truth would come to light no matter. Rodrigo sat in the dim light of his hospital room, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling his nostrils as he processed the betrayal that had shattered his world. The private investigator's report lay crumpled in his hands, its implications weighing heavily on his chest. He had confronted Anna with the evidence, expecting to see a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but instead, her expression had been one of defiance and contempt. "Rodrigo, you should know by now," Anna had said, her voice cold and unyielding. "I didn't marry you for love. I married you for the life you could give me. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want a slice of your fortune?" Her words hung in the air, sharp and cruel, piercing through the remnants of the love he once believed they shared. Now, as he held the evidence of her treachery, he felt a tempest of emotions swirling within him, hurt, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal. How could she have done this to him? The woman he had loved and trusted had turned into a stranger before his very eyes. The luxurious life they had built together seemed like an elaborate facade, crumbling under the weight of her greed. Rodrigo clenched his fists, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. He thought of the years they had spent together, the dreams they had shared, and the future he had envisioned. In an instant, it all felt like a cruel joke. Memories of laughter and intimacy were overshadowed by the stark reality of Anna's betrayal. As he sat in silence, the door creaked open, and Jessica, his childhood friend, stepped in. She greeted him with a warm smile, but it quickly faded as she took in his expression. "Rodrigo, what's wrong?" she asked, concern etching her features. Rodrigo looked up, the pain evident in his eyes. "It's Anna. She didn't care about me. She only wanted my money," he confessed, his voice trembling. "I thought we had something real, but it was all a lie." Jessica's heart ached for him. "I'm so sorry, Rodrigo. You deserve so much better." She moved closer, taking a seat beside him. "You know, I've been here for you since the beginning, and I will be here now. You're not alone in this." Rodrigo appreciated her presence more than words could express. Jessica had always been a constant source of support in his life, and in this moment, he realized how much he needed her. "I don't know what to do," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I feel so lost." Take it one step at a time, she urged gently, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. You're stronger than you think. This is a setback, but it doesn't define you. You can reclaim your life and your business. You have the skills and the determination. Rodrigo pondered her words, the flicker of hope igniting within him. Perhaps he could rise from the ashes of this betrayal. But how? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Start by focusing on your recovery, Jessica suggested, her eyes sparkling with determination. You need to regain your strength first. Once you're physically and mentally ready, we can strategize a plan for your business. You have the resources and the people who believe in you. Don't let Anna take that away. Rodrigo nodded, her words resonating within him. You're right, he said, his voice gaining a hint of resolve. I can't let her win. I'll fight for what's mine, and I won't let her destroy everything I've built. Jessica smiled, a glimmer of pride shining in her eyes. That's the spirit. And remember, I'll be right by your side. We'll tackle this together. As days turned into weeks, Rodrigo focused on his rehabilitation and began to regain his strength. Each day brought a new challenge, but with Jessica's unwavering support, he found the motivation to push through the pain. He started to feel like himself again, stronger, more determined, and ready to reclaim his life. During one of their strategy sessions, Rodrigo and Jessica sat at a small table in the hospital cafeteria. The muted sounds of other patients and staff created a backdrop of normalcy, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside him. I've been thinking, Rodrigo began, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly, about how to approach my business after I leave here. I need to re-establish control. Jessica leaned forward, her gaze intense. What do you have in mind? I want to gather evidence of Anna's actions. I need to know exactly what she's been doing with my company and my money. If I can expose her for what she is, then it'll be easier to regain my position, Rodrigo explained, his voice steadying with each word. Sounds like a solid plan, Jessica encouraged. You have connections in the industry. Use them. Gather your allies, and when you're ready, unveil the truth. Rodrigo smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I can't do this alone, though. I need trusted people around me, people who have my back. I'll help you reach out to your contacts, Jessica offered, her eyes shining with determination. Together, we'll build a team that can help you take back what's yours. Thank you, Jess, Rodrigo said, his voice filled with gratitude. I don't think I could do this without you. As their conversation deepened, Rodrigo felt the weight of despair beginning to lift. Jessica's belief in him acted as a balm for his wounded spirit. He realized that through this storm of betrayal, he had discovered an unexpected ally, someone who genuinely cared about him. Days turned into a blur of rehabilitation, strategizing, and gathering information. Rodrigo felt stronger each day, both physically and emotionally. The thought of Anna's betrayal no longer consumed him. Instead, it fueled his desire to reclaim his life and his business. One evening, as he sat in his hospital room, Rodrigo received a message from one of his former colleagues. Rodrigo, we've missed you at the office. Let's catch up soon. A wave of nostalgia washed over him. He missed the hustle and energy of his business, the thrill of closing deals, and the satisfaction of creating something from scratch. He texted back eagerly, arranging to meet for lunch the following week. As the day approached, Rodrigo felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. This meeting could pave the way for his return to the business world, but he also knew he would have to confront the reality of what Anna had done. He steeled himself for the challenges ahead, determined to take control of his narrative. When the day finally arrived, Rodrigo donned a crisp shirt and tailored pants, feeling the weight of his past struggles, but also the promise of a new beginning. He and Jessica arrived at the restaurant early, the ambiance vibrant with laughter and conversation. As they settled into a booth, Rodrigo felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. Just be yourself, Jessica said, offering him a reassuring smile. You've got this? Rodrigo took a deep breath, channeling his nerves into focus. As his former colleague arrived, they exchanged greetings and soon the conversation flowed easily. Discussing old projects, shared successes, and future ambitions filled Rodrigo with a sense of belonging he had desperately missed. Rodrigo, you were always the driving force behind our team, his colleague remarked, a hint of admiration in his voice. "We need your vision back. The company isn't the same without you." Rodrigo felt a surge of warmth at the compliment. "I appreciate that, but I need to sort out some personal matters first." The conversation continued, and as they spoke about potential collaborations, Rodrigo realized that he was ready to take the next step. He would not only reclaim his business, but also redefine what it meant to be a leader, one who valued trust, loyalty, and integrity above all. With the support of Jessica and a growing network of allies, Rodrigo began to strategize his comeback. He was no longer the vulnerable man who had been blindsided by betrayal. He was a man with a purpose, a man determined to rise again. Anna's actions would not define him. Instead, they would serve as a catalyst for his transformation. As he embraced this new chapter of his life, Rodrigo knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but with the lessons learned from betrayal and the unyielding support of a true friend, he was ready to face whatever came his way. It was time to reclaim not just his business but his life. Rodrigo sat in the dimly lit room, the remnants of his father's life scattered around him like the pieces of his own shattered existence. Each item he touched brought a flood of memories: his father's old watch, the leather-bound journal filled with handwritten notes, and finally, the envelope that seemed to whisper secrets from the past. As he opened the letter, the familiar scent of aged paper enveloped him, but the words inside were anything but comforting. "Rodrigo," it began in his father's precise handwriting, "if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here to protect you. There are truths I need to share, truths that may tarnish the legacy I have built." Rodrigo's heart raced as he continued reading, each line revealing the dark underbelly of his father's empire. The letter detailed illegal dealings, shady investments, and connections that could destroy everything he had worked for. It was a portrait of a man he thought he knew, painted with strokes of betrayal and desperation. "Damn it," Rodrigo muttered under his breath, clenching the letter tightly. How could his father have lived such a double life? The man he admired now seemed like a stranger. He could feel a wave of nausea wash over him as he leaned against the desk for support, struggling to digest the revelation. The weight of the world was pressing down on him, and just when he thought he had everything figured out, another layer of deceit was peeled back. He had been on the verge of exposing Anna's betrayal, convinced that unraveling her deception was the solution to his suffering. But now, with this newfound knowledge, everything felt tangled in a web of complexity. Rodrigo couldn't help but wonder, was Anna's betrayal truly a betrayal, or was it an attempt to shield him from a darker truth? As he paced the room, his mind raced with conflicting thoughts. He remembered the nights he lay awake, the heaviness in his chest growing with each passing day. Anna had seemed distant, constantly preoccupied, but her actions now took on a different light. A part of him wanted to lash out, to confront her with this explosive information, but another part urged caution. Perhaps there was more to her story than he had initially believed. The next day, Rodrigo found himself standing outside Anna's favorite cafe, the one where they had shared countless mornings filled with laughter and love. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of pastries, a reminder of happier times. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation that lay ahead. When Anna arrived, her face lit up with a smile that momentarily disarmed him. "Rodrigo, I'm so glad you called," she said, her eyes sparkling with warmth. But he could see the flicker of uncertainty behind her smile, and it only fueled the storm brewing inside him. "Anna, we need to talk. It's important," he said, his tone serious. They settled into a secluded corner of the cafe, the bustling sounds of patrons fading into the background as he searched for the right words. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brow furrowing in concern. "You look tense." Rodrigo hesitated, weighing the implications of unveiling the letter's contents. "I found something in my father's belongings," he started, watching her reaction closely. He had secrets, Anna. Secrets that could ruin everything." Anna's expression shifted, a mixture of surprise and dread. "What kind of secrets?" "Illegal dealings, shady business practices," he replied, his voice low. "It makes me question everything I thought I knew about him, and about us." For a moment Anna was silent, her gaze dropping to the table as if she were searching for the right words. "Rodrigo, Before you say anything," he interrupted, needing to control the narrative, "I need to understand why you've been acting the way you have. You've been distant, and I found out about the money you've been moving around. It's all connected, isn't it?" Anna rubbed her temples, a sigh escaping her lips. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me," he echoed incredulously. "By betraying my trust?" "It's complicated," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I found out about your father's dealings before the accident. I didn't want to tell you because I knew how hard it would hit you. I thought if I could keep the business afloat, maybe you wouldn't have to face the truth while you were recovering. I thought I was being strong for both of us." Rodrigo's heart raced as he processed her words. The anger that had been building within him began to wane, replaced by a sense of understanding. "So, you were trying to keep everything together. But at what cost, Anna? I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was saving you from the weight of it all. I made mistakes, yes, but I was trying to help," she pleaded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. He studied her face, searching for the sincerity behind her words. There was pain there, a reflection of his own struggles. "You could have come to me. We could have faced this together." Anna nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I know. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you, and I thought if I could just keep things running, then maybe what?" He pressed gently, softening. "Maybe we could still have a life together, despite everything," she whispered, her voice breaking. In that moment, something shifted within Rodrigo. The bitterness that had clouded his heart began to dissolve. He realized that they were both lost souls, navigating a world filled with pain and mistakes. "I don't want to lose you either," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But we need to change. We need to face these truths together. No more lies." Anna nodded, her relief palpable. "I'm so sorry, Rodrigo. I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to protect what we had." Rodrigo reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "We can't rebuild on lies. We need honesty. If we're going to move forward, we have to confront our past." As they sat there, hands intertwined, they realized that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. But for the first time in a long while, there was a glimmer of hope. The bond they shared had been tested, but it also had the potential to grow stronger. They had both made mistakes, but within those mistakes lay the opportunity for redemption. "Together," Anna asked, her voice trembling with vulnerability. "Together," Rodrigo affirmed, a newfound determination igniting within him. In that small cafe, amidst the chaos of their lives, they were ready to forge a new path, one built on understanding, forgiveness, and a commitment to honesty. As they left the cafe hand in hand, Rodrigo felt a sense of weight lifting from his shoulders. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but perhaps, just perhaps, they could navigate it together. In the face of betrayal, they had chosen understanding, and in doing so they had taken the first step towards healing.